All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, and we are back at work, and we are doing things. We're not going to fuck around all week just because it's a 4-day week. We're going to get things done. That's right. That's what we do. We happy few that that keep the economy going. Everybody's
Look at
working
us.
too hard this week. I know. Feel sorry for yourself for about a minute, and then give yourself a whole bunch of credit for being like the most important. The most important people in South Africa right now are the ones who are keeping the economy going. So, a little bit of credit. I know you don't feel.
You're welcome.
I know you don't feel thrilled if you're waking up this morning to go to work. I know, it's shitty. But you know what? If it wasn't for us, like the ones who are working, nothing would happen. We would have nothing to. There would be no. There'd be no economy to speak of. So, come on, let's go. All right, Lebang is here. She is also in the studio this morning. I wasted 2 days of my long weekend. I hate this. So I got sick somewhere on Sunday afternoon, evening. I started to feel like flu type of symptoms.
Okay.
You know, headache, temperature. I mean, you're a mum. You can identify these things like by heart now.
I know it all. Sure.
Stomach, that kind of shit.
Congestion,
And then,
fever.
Oh, God. So I was like, oh, no. So anyway, I got home on Sunday, and I got straight into bed early on Sunday night, like an old fucked man. And I slept through the night, the sweating and the tossing and turning and all of that shit.
No.
Horrible. And then eventually, I got to sleep, and I woke up yesterday morning, and I thought, I can't get up out of bed yet. I'm still feeling shit. So I stayed in bed until like lunchtime, which is, to me, it's the worst. I don't like being in bed for so long. And then, yeah, it's just embarrassing. I mean, like anyone who should be in bed until lunchtime, you have to either be sick, which in this case got me a bit of a free pass yesterday. But the whole time, what I was thinking, this is a public holiday. This is the kind of day you should be using. And what are you doing? You're sleeping, and you're sick. Couldn't you have got sick during the week? You could have taken a day off work, or
Don't hard on yourself. Like, for some people, sleep is the way that you use the public holiday. You want to rest, you want to relax, and don't feel so bad about being in bed for that long. And these are the joys of living alone, Gareth, is that you actually can get away with that. Just like get your laptop, put it on your lap, do what you need to do for the day. If there's anything, you actually relaxing your body. Don't feel like, oh no, I'm in bed for too long. I think you're allowed to. And I promise you, a lot of people probably did that willingly yesterday, because the weather in Joburg was just absolute balls as well. The rain literally was like, hi, remember me? Misery, cold? Yeah. Stay in bed, don't do anything. We had like 2 days of like, be outside, enjoy the sun, get soaked up. And literally out of the purple, it was just like, bam, okay, that's all you guys get. So enjoy it, bro. If I could have yesterday, I would have spent all day in bed. Honestly, I would willingly, and I would have felt bad about it.
Yeah, you know what? I reckon that these long weekends put pressure on you. And I know everybody goes, huh? What are you talking about? It's like it's time off. No, because there's a long weekend, you feel pressure to have to do stuff. You feel pressure to have to like use the weekend properly, right? So you go into the long weekend and you're like, well, I've got 4 or 5 days here that I can have some fun.
I'm gonna get so much done. Oh yeah, look at me. Yo.
Or you're just you're gonna see people, you're gonna do like it was Easter, so family things or whatever, right? So it's like the most fun thing ever. And when you start off the weekend like that, there's a lot of pressure. You're like, well, I've got to fit this in, this and this. And I had to fly down to KZN for a night, which was really, really cool. I did this on Saturday, but it was in the middle of the long weekend. So it kind of split the thing in half. There was the pre-KZN part of the weekend, which was actually lots of fun. Then there was a post-KZN part of the weekend, which was like family on the Saturday and fun and like a nice big lunch. And then from there on, it was just like being sick and useless. So I don't know. I mean, I suppose I could say that I had an adventurous weekend. It kind of went like, where ebbs and flows like waves. So I'll take it. We're just reconnecting Lebang because she was breaking up a little bit there. Okay, good. She's in. So
Back in the
anyway, how was your long weekend? Tell us what you got up to. Tell us what interesting things you could tell us.
I think I played myself, to be honest. I looked at it and I was like, sure, I've got 4 whole days. That is so much. I'm gonna do this and this and this and this. And I ended up doing like only like maybe 2 of those things.
Yeah.
And also that's just because it was the Easter period, you know. Family was over. It's the first time I hosted as a new homeowner. So everybody came to my place.
Oh, I was waiting for this because you already had a whole bunch of them staying with you, right?
Oh no, they're still there. It's still that period.
No,
So yeah.
You need to get rid of them.
No, it's not even that deep. They are leaving like tomorrow. They're leaving tomorrow. It's just social fatigue, Gareth. It's just social fatigue. I've seen so many people in a space where I don't see that many people. Like there's this thing that we have where when there's like an event, all the mothers get in the kitchen and do all the cooking in the big ass pots and all the aunts and the cousins. So I was kind of just given a free pass as far as cooking and stuff goes. So I was like, okay, this is nice. Let them do their thing. So they were like in charge of that territory. But just walking through my kitchen and seeing like 7 people, I was like, no, man, something is wrong here. Walking in the lounge and seeing like 100 people, I was like, no, man, this just doesn't feel like I didn't buy a house for this. I bought a house for like peace and sanity. So yeah, the nice thing is that it's done. It's over. It's probably only going to be like a once a year thing, of which there's crazy benefits, like being with family, reconnecting with everyone, and these, you know, like all the good stuff, all the gushy rainbows and glitter, of which I absolutely enjoyed. My father-in-law was turning 60 yesterday, so we did a whole thing for him. It was like back to back. On the Saturday, it was the Easter. Yeah, dude, it was crazy. And then on the Sunday, it was like his birthday bride thing. It was bonkers, but I can say I'm glad it's done. I'd like to close this chapter of my life and just, you know, move on to my house the way it is. Just me and my 5 children and my husband. The end. You know what I mean? Like those are the numbers I can manage. But it was dope. It was cool. Except this morning, Gareth, I was trying to like pack a scuffteen because obviously I'm like, back at work. And usually when I pack a scuffteen, I have an actual scuffteen to pack into. So this morning I realized everything was gone. And when I say everything, I mean every last one of my Tupperwares, it's just not there. It's just not in my kitchen.
They were taken, or that they've been used for all the leftover food?
Yeah. I think it was that thing of like, oh, there's so much food. There was a whole lamb spit and all this soup and all these things and stews. Well, we want to take some home. What are we going to do? You know? And like, I don't know how to address it because it's like, I need my Tupperwares back, guys. Love you, but can I get my shit back? You know what I mean? It's just like a weirdish.
This can lead to the breakup of friendships. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
It's mostly women. Let's be honest about it. Mostly women who will argue about this, and rightly so. But why should other people take your fucking Tupperwares, right?
Exactly. And thank God it's the cheap shit. You know I'm a cheapskate. Like imagine if it was like that really expensive Tupperware, like those ones that are even written Tupperware. Because those ones are like 200 rand a pop.
With the sides that click like that and
dog Tupperwares these days, there's really fancy ones. So mine were just like, you know, some things I picked up at Westpac because like children, so I don't want to go off. But still, like I just wanted to pack lunch this morning and I couldn't. So yeah, I'm just learning a couple of lessons, you know, as I grow into this whole thing of like being the mother of the house and things like little things that I'm constantly learning. And this weekend, the biggest lesson was like, don't just leave people in the kitchen, like check in every hour, just like, you know, keep an eye out and like, okay, count your spoons and count your plates, make sure things are still there.
You don't want to, yeah. It's not because you're worried that your family or friends are going to steal from you. Because I mean, I've got friends and family, and you know, I let them go crazy in the kitchen because I don't care about the kitchen at all. So when you were saying just now, there's 7 people all hard at work in the kitchen. Often when I have friends here, because they all know I can't cook and I couldn't be bothered, they all take that over, right? And I know they know roughly where things are or whatever, and maybe things will go missing, but it won't be because they're trying to steal. It's because they're busy using the stuff and they've put it in a different place. So don't panic. It's probably there, You just
It
don't.
definitely is. I would just like to know, there's a difference between, oh, I need to pack food. I'm just going to take this and go. And hey, Lebang,
Right.
thank you so much for having me. Can I just take this? And you know what I mean? I'll
Yeah.
bring it back. Like the notice of all of it is the only thing.
Can I add to that? Because you're not going to say no if there's a whole bunch of food left over, even though you have like a small
Exactly.
tribe to feed, even when everyone's gone home. You've still got the
Sure.
most people in your family to feed out of everyone, right? But
Of
you
course.
can't say when there's a huge pile of food left over, you can't go, well, no, I'm afraid you can't take any of that home because then it makes you sound like a real shit.
Exactly. I'm not gonna do that, especially now with my in-laws. They're more than welcome to take whatever they need, but just like let me know. But I also think like my family, like my mom and my brothers, they were also like catalysts in this whole thing because they were just having so much fun. They didn't even need to cook on Sunday or on Monday. That's how much food they left with. So I'm just glad that everybody had a good time. Like that was a nice thing. But for me now, it's like we're getting into winter. I don't want to see anybody's face for like 4 months. Don't
Yeah,
call me.
you know what?
Don't text me. Leave me alone. Love you.
I
Bye.
I think that's very sensible. In fact, maybe we should all, once April's over, because let's face it, April's a bit of a mess. All these long weekends, you're going to be doing things. People are going to try and fill up
Mm,
your diary. My whole diary for April's pretty much booked up. I know exactly what
same.
I'm doing until the very
Yeah.
last day of April. There's no gaps. There's no nothing. If I have to squeeze something in, it's going to mean something else has to be cancelled.
Yeah.
So I am going to, let's say from May. From May, I'm going to say, you know what? Shutting this whole thing down. I'm going to become a hermit. I'm going to stay
Yep.
indoors. When I am not at work, I will be at home. That's it. I'm not going out anywhere. I'm not spending money. I'm
Yeah.
not going to puza. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. Anyway,
Politely declined. Look, it's not you,
mm,
it's me. I've
yeah,
just
exactly.
had I've just been drained. The social fatigue of Easter is taking its time to wear off.
Mhm.
And I'm just choosing this time to really spend it with myself. Summer bodies are made in winter. I want to practice making better soups. You find whatever excuse you
Oh man,
want.
practice
But
making the soups. I'm suddenly excited about winter soups. Ooh,
yeah, oof, right. Oh, that's gonna be nice. That's gonna be nice. So I'm probably only gonna come out like around September again. Literally just go to work and back, like nothing else in between. I'll be at work, at church, and at home. As far as like seeing anybody in the middle, like da 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 da, yo, I can't, I can't.
don't need it.
Love ya.
All right,
Yeah,
so May is officially our month. Okay, May is the
yeah,
month of meh. Everything's going to be meh
yes, yeah.
unless you're at home at work.
May is meh,
May is the month
but
of
it's my
meh.
birthday month, Gareth. I can't be meh. I can't.
That's your problem. That's
Oh,
your problem.
this sounds like a me problem, huh?
That's not my problem. All right. Well, I did something interesting on Saturday. I thought it was interesting, and I'm glad I did it. It was really, really fun and very different to the usual stuff that I do. I was invited by the Pixley Isaka Seme Foundation.
Uh-huh.
Of course, Pixley Isaka Seme, for those people who don't know, and lots of people seemingly don't know who he is, was the actual founder of the ANC. This is a
Yeah.
man who back in 1912 started the ANC. The South African National Natives Council was what it was called then, the SANNC. He was extraordinary. He was one of the smartest people that South Africa's ever produced.
Yeah.
Now, bear in mind, this is a black man, a Zulu man, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Listen to what happened to him. A missionary notices that this kid is really, really smart. Says to the parents, listen, can I send your kid to America to learn? And the parents are like, for sure. We can see that he's talented and brilliant. So he goes off to a school in America, does so well, he gets into Columbia University, studies there and learns all the various things, including, I mean, he does a law degree, he gets the Curtis Medal for public speaking. He goes over to the UK, to Oxford, where he's given another scholarship. Now he's
Damn.
got Columbia and Oxford on his CV, all right? And he's, what, 20 something. Comes back to South Africa with these degrees. He's an extraordinarily smart legal mind. He comes over here, he starts doing legal advice for King Sobhuza of Swaziland. He starts sorting out like land issues for poor black people in the in KwaZulu-Natal, which at that point is still a British protectorate. It's called Natal, and it is run by the British from London. And what does he do? I mean, among his many, many achievements, I think this is the most incredible one of all. He secures the sovereignty and the independence of the Kingdom of Swaziland and the Kingdom of Lesotho. The reason those two countries are carved out of the map of South Africa, the two gaps in South
Yeah,
Africa,
yeah,
one
yeah.
on the left, I mean, on the right-hand side where Swaziland is, and there's that one right in the middle. That is
Mm,
because Pixley Isaka Seme. He
damn.
secured their independence in the early 1900s, before any of these other countries had gotten independence from Britain. So Zimbabwe was still Rhodesia, South Africa was still inside the British Empire. There were all these other countries that had, I mean, independence was a dream way down the line.
Sure, sure,
And at that point already, he had started to get those two countries on the path to independence, which is absolutely astonishing. So I was thrilled to be invited to talk about this guy. You know how much I love history.
sure,
And the foundation was set up by his grandchildren, who are still alive and are in KwaZulu-Natal. They live in Durban. We had this meeting, and I was doing the guest lecture at the KwaMashu Community Center, which is like in the middle of KwaMashu.
sure.
And it was just I consider it a great honor. It's funny, little things.
Mm,
I'm not really impressed by, big government events. I'm not really impressed by people who spend millions on their birthday parties or their weddings anymore. It's the little things that really impress me these days. And this is one of those things because I was treated so decently and so kindly by all these nice
mm.
people. And
That's great.
they were so happy that I'd come. And I was like, no, 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 you have no idea how happy I am that I've come.
Yeah, that's
And
like right up your alley, dude. Quite
I love it.
literally.
Like any
Mm,
excuse to talk about history, to
mm,
meet the descendants of this great man. And by the way, he also married King Dinizulu's daughter. So, his grandson is Umtwana. He's the he's also descended from the Zulu kings, which is
mm.
always like something that's just like I love the history of the Zulu monarchy. So
Yeah.
all of this is really up my street, but it was fascinating. I mean, listen, Lebang, 98% of the whole thing was in isiZulu, so I had to be listening so carefully, and it's amazing how when you
Mm,
are listening, like I've got a reasonable talent for languages, and I did learn Zulu at primary school. But
sure,
at primary school, you learn how to greet people and how to, like talk about the weather and that sort of shit.
sure.
But
Yeah.
but I was suddenly picking up, funda sebenza, namhlanje. All these things are like starting to come
Yeah.
back to me. Like if I'd spent another 3 hours there, I would have been speaking fluent Zulu by the end of it.
You would have
It
come back a different man.
was amazing. Like besides my speech, everything was in Zulu.
And also,
And
like, gee, the Zulu in KwaMashu is not the Zulu that like you're taught in school, and it's not the Zulu that we speak up here in Joburg. That is like the deep, 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 rich,
yeah,
authentic, like at its
yeah.
core type Zulu that even some of us struggle with. So I'm glad that you were in that kind of environment. That must have been like so enriching for you. And it kind of sucks that like not a lot of people know about him and his great work. Like if I didn't listen to your episode on blind history, I wouldn't have a cooking clue who he was. I sat in the office with Rena one day and she was like, "Do you know who Pixie is?" I'm like, she's like, "Go do your history." And I just felt so bad because these are the people, I felt like crap. But it's like these are the stories that we really should be hearing about, but like we don't. There's so
Listen,
many
there
like
was
great people in the background that do so much that we just will never hear about, which sucks.
there was a woman from the ANC. She's a member of the provincial legislature, and she was there as well. Very impressive woman. We're going to get her on the burning platform one day. And because it's so hard to get ANC people to come on there because they go like, oh no, we don't want to be there because they think they're going to be shat on from beginning to end. And she's really got, I mean, like she's got an interesting thing to say. She's the first person I've met who actually defended like the ANC and said, this is why you should still vote for us. And look, while I disagree with a lot of the stuff, I think it's worth giving her a hearing. So we'll put her on. Anyway, I mean, it was really interesting. I loved it. Someone says in the comments here, don't forget about John Dube, who was the other co-founder. Yes, he was actually Pixley's uncle. Now, this is interesting
Oh damn.
because Pixley didn't. They wanted him to be president, and he said, "No, no, 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 no. There's a better guy than me." Yeah, John Dube, and he chose. He said, "Put him in there. He's better than me." which again, this is a rare thing. Most people when they see power,
They
grab
want
it
to be
with
the
both
stirrings, yeah. But that shows
hands.
character. That shows you the kind of thinker that he was. Almost like
Correct.
strategic in his, in his thinking. Like, you know what, let me not be the guy. Put that guy as the guy. I know where I will operate. I'll operate from strength here.
Mhm.
Man, it sounds like you had a really good time, man.
Well, Kampamba says, I've been flying to Joburg from KZN for the past 2 years, and this Easter I figured I'd go for a slow drive, right? I drove right past that N3 pileup last night, and safe to say I'm traumatized. Yo, there was an enormous,
Ooh.
enormous accident. I also flew there and back, thank God. But Kampamba, this was bad. Near Sadara, sort of between Hilton and Midmar, there was apparently a 40-car pileup.
What?
Uh-huh. A 40-car pileup. Apparently 5 to 7 people are dead. I'm not even sure what the numbers are, but really, really terrible.
Damn.
So I don't know what they're doing, but I'm sure that, we'll find out how it all happened. There were 2 trucks involved, 3 taxis, a whole bunch of cars, just awful
Mm.
stuff.
Ish,
When
but
this
that's Easter for you, sadly. Like, in as much as it's such a great time, this period will always come with some of that where there's accidents on the roads. People have been maybe drinking too much, or people are just traveling long distance, and some people are fatigued. Blah 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 blah. These things do happen.
Snai says, Lebang, Zulu and Kwamashu isn't that deep. You want deep, proper Zulu, go to Zululand, past the Tugela River. Those people make me wish I was a rural Zulu. Well, one of the things
Rural Zulu.
one of the things I spoke about was the fact that I went to primary school in KZN. And in, what was it, like third grade or whatever? Second or third, like the second year of school, second or third year of school, they took us to
Grade
this place
two.
called Pezulu, which was like this Zulu village that they'd made up to be like it would have been in the old days, right? And they were showing you how they made their food and how they built their huts and how they organized themselves and what kind of things went. I mean, it was like I was a kid, so I was taking it all in, and you know how I love this stuff.
Mm,
And then
mm.
it came to dress up. Um, that year, we all had to dress up for some school like day. There was some day that we all had to get dressed up in some outfit, and I, of course, just wanted to be a Zulu. So I was this white kid walking around in like a traditional Zulu outfit, but it was all I wanted was to be a Zulu at that point. So it was really cool to be back in there and talking
Mm,
about like a different aspect of the history, because
mm.
there's no doubt that that stuff has been a big part of my life up to now, and I'm just thrilled
Sure.
to be able to share it with people. There was a
I,
guy called
yeah.
Muntu Omalo,
Mm,
um, who's written 2 books, who was our MC. He was our program director for the day. And he used to be in Mkhonto Wesizwe, and he's got like really interesting stories, but he's the funniest guy as well. He's talking about Easter and how, because it's Easter, people must remember how stupid people are.
mm,
Jesus died on the cross, but there were those 2 other guys on the cross on either side, and there were much worse people. Like, the one guy was like a rapist and a murderer, and when
mm.
Pontius Pilate says, "Which one must I let go?" They're like, "That one, the bad, bad one." Um,
Not the mini bad one, the really bad one.
this is a really bad one. It's just amazing how dumb people are.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny to listen to as well. Go
No, it
to
was good that you were out there, man.
Bulawayo in Zimbabwe and learn real Zulu, says Mo Dollar.
Yo, it's so overwhelming. Like, when you just hear like real Zulu, if you're in Joburg, go to a place called My Mai. It's like a taxi rank esque.
Mm.
I don't want to call it a restaurant, but it's a place where there's just a lot of taxi drivers and a lot of really, really good food. The Zulu that is spoken there makes me realize that I don't speak Zulu at all. Like, I can hear what they're saying, but the accent and the depth, yeah. So I'm just like, whoa, and I want to learn so bad. Like, I want to understand it, but it makes you realize how diverse we truly, truly are out here. Like, it's madness. It's madness.
Anyway, a fun weekend. Definitely different to anything else I've done lately. And I love that. I don't want to be doing the
Yeah,
same shit over and over again.
sure, sure.
So I hope there's more stuff like that in the future for me, because it really does fill me up. It's like,
That's good.
it's the sort of stuff that I love doing. I love, love,
Mm,
love it. It's totally different to my day-to-day job. Anyway,
mm.
speaking of things that are going on at eThekwini. So we were complaining the other day that they were they were going to destroy that Funworld site on the beach there. You know, they had those like swings and those
Oh yeah,
merry-go-rounds and all of that stuff that's been on Durban beachfront for what, 1,000 years. It's been there forever, right?
But it's not really active, is it? It's kind of just sitting there collecting dust.
Well,
It's been like it's not really doing
I
the
don't know.
things.
I think kids are still playing there, but I mean, maybe not as much as they used to. I don't know. I
Mm.
mean, maybe kids aren't interested because it's like, I'd rather be on the iPad. But
Oh, I'd rather be at like Ushaga Marine World that's being like maintained and looked after.
We've got to talk about Thabo Bester just now, so hang on for that.
Oh, you.
Yeah, in Tanzania, but we'll get there now. So
Sure, get your tea and coffee ready for that one. Oh.
the eThekwini municipality has downplayed the closure of the iconic Funworld Park, saying it's working on upgrading it. Last week, they announced that they would no longer be operating the beachside entertainment venue after 75 years of it running. Apparently, the perpetual closure of beaches due to sewage spills and urban decay had turned customers away. City spokesperson Lindiwe Kuzwayo said that the municipality had received a notice that they would no longer be leasing the site. This is the company that was running it. The city is currently working on a process to attract developers to upgrade the Funworld site in line with the zoning of the beachfront. The entire precinct look is to be upgraded to meet world-class standards of modern theme parks. Our intention is to appoint a developer who will deliver a world-class facility that will raise the overall aesthetics of our Golden Mile. Well, if that's true, awesome, right?
Crossing thumbs. I'm really crossing thumbs that is the truth because it's such a prime location. But like the thing is, do we believe it, Gareth? Like I don't want to be that guy, but like I gotta ask.
We will know in 6 months' time when they get ready for when they start preparing for the December rush of people, and we'll know whether or not this Kuzwayo woman is lying or not. Because if she's lying, then we must hold her feet to the fire.
Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. I mean, brother, like when you think about Durban, like that's like the first thing that I think about being a kid and just exploring that whole strip and just being allowed to be myself. Now it's like, it's really just been left to rot. It's not looking good out there.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Thabo Bester because you were the one who introduced me to this story. So I didn't know anything about this until you told me. This is 3 weeks ago now. And they found him. He's not dead. You were right from the beginning. All the stories that we read on the internet were true.
Yeah.
The guy, he's definitely alive and well, and so is Nandipa. And they were found in Tanzania, of all places.
Believe it? Can you believe it? It's there's so many things. In the beginning it was just, there's this guy who's, on the run with his fake doctor wife, blah, blah, blah. Now every little detail of the story, the build up to how they escaped, his whole life story. I saw CNN did a coverage of his life story, just giving us context. So they were, it's that deep. So they were arrested this past weekend, him and Unandipa. So it's now like, what happens next? But what's interesting for me, Gareth, is to see all the people around the two of them that have essentially been involved right from the beginning. Nandipa's father got arrested because he was also implicit in some sort of fraudulent behavior. Yes. We found out that that Bester was actually a product of rape, which kind of explains a lot, but it still doesn't excuse it. But with all these little, pieces of information that we're finding out, it's just like, this is a lot. This is hectic. So I really hope that some justice will be served. But this is South Africa. We can only hope and pray that something good is going to happen.
Well, this is the latest story from EWN, Eyewitness News. They have this to say. 2 more suspects, including a former employee of the G4S security company, have been arrested in connection with the elaborate prison outbreak of convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester. It is understood police detained a 39-year-old former employee of the Mangaung Correctional Center at his home in Bloemfontein, and a 65-year-old man from Port Edward in Natal at the same time. Bester escaped from the facility in May 2020 after faking his death. The criminal dubbed the Facebook rapist was arrested alongside his alleged accomplice, Nandipa Magudman, in Tanzania. The police's Atlenda Mate said that both men will face charges related to the aiding of a convicted prisoner to escape from lawful custody. They will appear in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court on Tuesday.
It's a lot. Gareth, it's a lot. It's just too much. Like this Nandi Pahan has really got herself in a pickle. At some point, she had stolen 3 bodies from a mortuary and
Oh my
had
God.
gotten, dude, it's a lot. And then she got like a payout for each body. Like she got 1.5 million. She was like, no, this one body belongs to my dad. And then they found that body like in the river with the tag still on it. Apparently, the house that they were renting in Hyde Park, there's a dead body of one of the helpers in the yard. They're looking for that. Woo! Boy, like, it's a lot. It's a lot. If I owned like a full blown production company that does dockies, I would be on this like crazy. Because every week it's a different thing. Every week it's, oh no, Thabo Bester this, Nandipa that, and there's like timelines. It's the first time the whole country is like at a standstill. Like there's a lot constantly going on with our government and this and this and that, but this is the first time where it's like every day it's like literally every day it's So
No, I'm amazed. I mean, like, you know that it's a big international story and that it's different to other stories when CNN starts picking it up.
Exactly.
Because they're mostly disinterested in these kinds of stories, but there we go. Bonnie and Clyde is like Thabo Lenandi. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, quite literally.
Right.
Literally. And you also see like Gareth, like the different level of, I guess, journalism and like the care that international journalists have for these kinds of stories. Like they really dug up all their research. I saw like a 2-minute clip that gave you a full life story of Thabo from his birth right till his age right now. And where they got that information, you're like, damn, y'all are all the way that side, but you guys were able to uncover this. It's yeah. Guning, it's a lot. It's always a lot.
That's what Pumi says every single week. So now we go through a list of reasons why it's Guningi every single week.
Yeah. Yo.
So here's an interesting story for those fans of Star Wars. And I used to be a big Star Wars fan. I can't help feeling like it's just off the boil. But anyway, I mean, for a lot of people, yeah, Star Wars continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. And since it's been bought by Disney, they are milking this pony like you cannot believe, right? So they're going to release 3 new Star Wars films. So this is never going to end. We're going to be basically in Star Wars year every year. 3 new Star Wars movies are in the making, including the first film of the cinematic universe to be directed by a woman, because that's obviously a big deal. That a woman is directing it is huge for somebody somewhere. Somebody's got to explain to me who that person is. Because you know what I've always done? Always sat there watching Star Wars thinking, this would be great, but if there was a woman directing, it would be so much better.
Hey man, it might be really, really dope. All it means is that to date, there's only been men that have produced and directed Star Wars. That's all that this means.
You think I give a shit? I can't name one director of one Star Wars.
You are not the guy.
No. So anyway, I mean, for anybody who's super excited about the fact that a woman is directing, then Disney is bending over backwards to accommodate you. So lucky you. That's what you're into. Pakistan-born winning director Sharmeen Obad Chanoy is leaping from the Marvel universe to the Star Wars galaxy to direct a new film set 15 years after the end of the last movie. She will direct British actor Daisy Ridley as she returns to the role of Rey, a heroine of the last trilogy. New film will follow Rey's efforts to revive the Jedi Order.
Yeah, look, the point is we are getting a new spin on Star Wars, and I think that's the cool thing. But movies in general lately have been shit. That's a conversation I'd rather have. We haven't gotten a lot of actually really good, like, groundbreaking stuff where we can be like, oh my word, did you check that? Like, even Avatar, I watched it recently. I was like, okay, cool, I get the hype, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I can literally sit here and say, Gareth, you have to go watch Avatar, dude. It's going to change your life. It's not. It's not.
No, and I still haven't seen that movie. So,
you see?
No.
Yeah, the movies in general, it's bleak. The whole Marvel universe is just suffering. DC is suffering. Like, Star Wars is still a thing. There's no more original, unique, authentic stories anymore. Like, right now, I'm just looking forward to, I think, Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man's all I've got. That's all I've got to look forward to. But anyway, yeah, it is what it is. I think movies in general are just suffering. It's not you, Gareth. It's not you. Yeah. Don't blame yourself.
Thabo says, this new Star Wars movie, it's going to be shit. The franchise is dead. Look how shit the latest season of The Mandalorian is. Please stop, Disney.
Oh, that was so
Well,
bad. That was so bad.
it's
Oh,
I've watched up to what episode 6 or whatever it is of The Mandalorian,
yeah,
this new season, and
yeah.
it's okay. It's okay, but the last episode they've got like what's the guy's name? Jack Black?
Yes, the funny guy.
Jack and Lizzo as the rulers of this planet.
I
And
mean,
I just get the feeling like they've just stopped even caring. They're not even trying anymore. Now, again, Lizzo and Jack Black are fine. They're actually quite good in these roles. So I don't have a problem with that. But it's almost like they're doing their damnedest to reach everybody except the people who've always loved Star Wars. So they're turning their backs on the people who really do love Star Wars and always have, in order to
yeah.
hopefully, and I don't know if they are or they're not, hopefully access a wider audience, including, I don't know, more girls or whatever. But when I was growing up, not one girl I knew gave a fisherman's fuck about Star Wars.
It's not a
I was a
fisherman's fuck.
I was a massive, massive Star Wars fan. And I cannot tell you the name of one girl who, when I said things like, well, let's go and see the latest Star Wars movie. Oh yeah, that'll be amazing. They were like, no, I don't want to do that. And now
Yeah,
that
it's not the
this,
target market anymore, Gareth. Like, unfortunately, and they
Devang,
really should be focusing on y'all because y'all are
Devang,
loyal. You'll take it there.
like the people who want to watch like lightsaber fights and spaceships crashing into each other and like alien worlds, and it's not girls. They just don't. They're not as interested in that shit as boys are. They just aren't. I don't know
Mm,
why everybody. No, no, no. Don't go into this whole bullshit idea now of like everybody's exactly the same. They're
I
not.
said,
Girls
All I
don't
said
like.
was,
I know, but I know what you're thinking because this is what people do. And now, okay, so they've got this Kennedy woman who is in charge of the whole Star Wars franchise.
Okay,
Suzanne, her name is. Anyway, so she's in charge of the whole thing. Then you're gonna have
okay.
this woman director on the next movie, and you got Daisy Ridley, who's a woman lead. Now,
Mm.
that is all good and well, and that's fine. And I understand that you want to make it a little bit more diverse and more interesting and try to attract new people. But guys don't want to watch a female superhero. They do not care about that. And I can promise you that's true. Any guy who sits in his most honest moment and goes, yeah, I love a female superhero way more than I love a male superhero is just lying. It's just not a thing. And girls,
Gareth,
all this shit about like girls going, well, we also want to be represented. We want to see ourselves in those superheroes. I don't think that's true. I really don't.
so
Most girls would
I
be
think,
more than
like,
happy to watch something else.
well, if you can find some girls to ask, that's a good start. But beyond that, Gareth, like, they don't care about us anymore. They are literally just focused on this being a business. This is a business, and what's working? What's working now is getting everybody involved. What's working now is almost changing the status quo of who it is that we put in, and that is fine. It's the evolution of these things, and that's okay. Just let them do their thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that we can do. Little
Oh,
Lebang in South Africa, like,
you think
just,
my opinion is going to matter? It doesn't.
of course not. Of course
But
not. Like, let them do their
worth
thing.
is it worth someone in the world saying, "Hey, you might have gone a bit far, and you could be losing your audience here. You could actually be
They've
losing the people
lost.
who really
They've
love
lost
you."
that
I mean,
audience.
I look at my two little nephews who are what 9 and 6 years old,
Yeah.
and they love Star Wars, but they don't love it as much as we did. And it's probably because it's been
Mm.
watered down. I mean,
It's
like you've
been
got.
diluted.
I want to see Jack Black and Lizzo in a marriage on a Star Wars movie.
These kids do. That's, again, it's not us. It's the
No,
kids. The kids are
no,
the ones that are watching it. The
I don't
kids
think so.
love Lizzo. The kids love
I don't
Jack
think so.
Black.
I think what's
The kids
happening here
tell
is
their
no.
parents, "Mommy,
I
Daddy, go buy me a movie ticket." They don't care about us anymore, Gareth, and
promise you,
it's
no
fine.
one's buying a Lizzo or Jack Black action figure. Here's the fact that these things are being forced down on society by people at the top, the executive producers, the directors, the people who finance these movies, the Disneys. They're forcing this down on people. It's not like they've done the research and figured out what people want. I can guarantee you that they are pushing an agenda down on everyone else, and it's just like it's so lame. It's just so fucking lame. I hope they make no money out of these next movies. That's all I'm going to say.
I think it's okay to just park Star Wars. It was great for its time. I just don't know
maybe
as
it's
far as how relevant it would be in this day and age when we're dealing with so many things and things are just shifting so quickly and we are like catching up late. I just don't think it works. I don't think it's relevant. And with Disney buying it and trying to stretch it out, they're really squeezing the crap out of this lemon. It's done, guys.
Well,
it's over.
in a related story, apparently we're not going to get to Mars before we put more women on the moon. This is what NASA has said. So they're also pushing this this nonsense that now men and women have to achieve exactly the same things all the time. We must not, at any point must we acknowledge that women and men are different, that they have different ideas, that they have different interests. They are exactly the same. So NASA has decided until we land a woman on the moon, we're not going to go to Mars. Now, how important is it to you, Lebang, that a woman get on the moon? Because, of course, women are a different species than men, according to some people. Like it's not good enough that Neil Armstrong landed on there and walked on the moon's surface. What?
I mean, did he though? Did he?
No. Well, okay. So
I mean,
if he got onto the moon in 69,
yes,
then he got onto the moon in 69. But is it so important that we now have someone with different sexual reproductive equipment gets on the moon as well? Is that a big deal?
I think, Gareth, it should just boil down to if there's women that are interested in going to Mars, let them fucking go. The end. I don't think it should be anything beyond that. If there's men that are interested, let them go. The end. Like, if that's your vibe, do it. What you are, where you are, how you're faced, what, that doesn't matter. Like, you know how I feel about these things. It's all just clickbait. It's all just, we want to be a part of what people are talking about. And it's so obvious that you actually don't care about it, because if you did, you wouldn't be making this kind of noise about it. You would already have women going to the moon if you actually gave a rat's ass about it. But because it's just like a bit of a party trick or some sort of PR-ish stunt, it's quite obvious that, it's not real for y'all. So that's that on that.
What if they send Caitlyn Jenner or Jacinda Ardern? Does that still count?
You see? You see? These are valid questions that need answers. Oh, man. So much is happening.
Says, we need to send the stupid people to the moon, but it has to be a one-way trip. Well, it's a bit expensive, Each person that goes to the moon, it's like a couple of $100 million to get that person to the moon. So I know what's going to happen next is that they're going to say, well, it's good that we've got a man and a woman on the moon, but now we need a transgender person on the moon.
That's exactly. And that's where the problem lies.
And then after that, they're going to say, well, what about we need the first gay wheelchair-bound person on the moon? So we got to do that next. Because, of course, there are people out there who are just desperate for that first wheelchair-bound gay person to be on the moon.
To be on the moon.
I can't name any of them, but it's obviously a thing that's going on. So, and maybe we should just be pleased with Star Wars and leave all of this alone while we're talking about all this stuff.
You think so? No, I think no. We'd be absolutely boring if we didn't state our opinions on these matters. We'd literally just be sitting at home accepting all the fluff that is given to us by the people up there.
Yeah. All right. A couple other things we've got to look at this morning. The Dalai Lama was... Oh, this is so weird. Isn't this the weirdest? Right, you tell me if you're imagine your kid goes to kiss the Dalai Lama on the cheek. This is supposed to be a god on earth, all right? So supposedly he is the reincarnation of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. He's at some event and this kid comes up and hugs him and gives him a kiss on his cheek. And then this weirdo, the Dalai Lama, this weird creep of a person says to the child, suck my tongue. And he sticks out his tongue.
He goes,
and he wants the kid.
And this poor kid. Look, if you haven't seen that video, please don't go look at it.
Oh my God.
I saw it by mistake. I saw it by accident and I was just gagging. Like, suck my tongue. Bro, what are you...
Also, I mean, it's one thing for an adult grown-ass man who's, I don't know how old he is. The Dalai Lama must be in his 70s.
100. Must be 100.
He's old. The point is that the Dalai Lama should not be asking a child to suck his tongue. Under any circumstance. There is never a time
Zero.
ever where the Dalai Lama should be doing that. Makes me think that when the cameras aren't on him, he's up
Bro.
more. All right.
Like-
Even if he's not. And I'm willing to believe that maybe the Dalai Lama is not a total creep. I'm willing to believe it. But what are the chances if the
What are
one
the
time
odds?
you have the cameras on him, he's doing this in the eye of everyone. Everyone can
Sure.
see what he's up to. Now he's
Sure.
doing this. What is he doing the rest of the time?
And clearly the people around him are almost like enabling him to just go around and be this old creepy individual. He was so comfortable in that moment. He didn't feel that anything was wrong. He didn't even realize that, you know, there's cameras on him, that he's actually in the public space. He was so happy to ask a young boy to suck on his tongue. Hi, man. Hi. Let's be honest. And you know what it makes me think? Gareth, a lot of these old religious-esque guys have this energy. They all kind of do this, like, not even just religious-esque, like political, anyone with power, anybody with like extreme power, old male types have this weird thing when it comes to young kids because I mean, we've seen what happened in the churches. We know what goes down in the churches. So for this kind of video to surface, it really, as a parent, my first thought was, what the fucky? But in speaking to other parents, they're like, oh, no, man, you know, I think we're all overreacting. How would you like it if your child went up to him and just went in for a hug? And then the Dalai Lama's like, nah, bring it in, bring that tongue in.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Ugh. It's
I'm
just so
pressed.
gross. The whole thing is just so revolting.
It's nasty. And they're showing us what they do behind closed doors. It would be so silly of us to just kind of be like, oh, okay, cool, you know, it is what it is. This is what goes down with people in these positions. They abuse power. And I'm not going to lie, it kind of looked, you know, like that style of like grooming these young boys to become a little, you know, sexual. It was giving that. It was giving that energy. You know, these Joe Biden videos that come out, and when there's a child, he just strokes their hair slowly.
He always wants to touch their hair and smell them and like, ugh, come on. But okay, so listen, you know, there are all these people, you talk about conspiracy theories like not landing on the moon. There are all these people who talk about like all these pedophiles all over the place. I mean, my sister's always saying to me, well, the whole of Hollywood's just full of pedophiles. And I always go, please, man, calm down. It's not true. I don't know. I mean, like maybe there are just a lot of gross old men who are into being around kids in a sort of semi-sexual way. And if they are, that is disgusting. And we should put these people in jail. Right?
I concur. I agree with you there, bro. That is definitely what needs to happen. And they definitely do exist. That is one thing we need to be aware of. And we need to just know that this is what's happening. So as parents, we just need to just like, you know, stay woke.
Billy says, did anyone ask the Dalai Lama to explain himself? Yes. And he issued an apology immediately.
An apology, yeah.
He didn't deny it. He didn't say, no. I didn't do this because he knew. He knew there was actual video evidence, right? So he didn't even bother to excuse himself. He just said, "I'm really sorry."
He just said, "My bad, whoopsie. I regret that." You don't regret shit. You just regret the fact that you got caught doing what you always do. Is what it feels like. It wasn't sincere. I don't know. Like, how do you explain that behavior, Gareth? How do you explain that? Like, oh, it's my grandfather. He's got dementia. Sometimes he'll want to suck it up. No.
I think it you know, again, it comes down to, I wonder if anyone's defending him, if anyone's trying to explain this away by being, you know, maybe some people are devout Buddhists and they believe that, you know, the Dalai Lama is a spectacular human being who has, I don't know, abilities that the rest of us can't understand. And maybe this is the way he behaves because he's totally innocent. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know how you're going to explain this away. To me, it's gross. It's just gross. There's no way around it. Sorry. I don't like it.
He needs,
I don't want to hear crappy. I don't want to hear his crappy excuses, frankly. Right?
Absolutely. No, there's no way. There's no way. There's nothing that they can say to to make this one go away. Like, if you guys are serious about making this go away, get yourself Arena Broomberg. Failing which, y'all are screwed. There's not a single person that can help you with this one. It is clear. It's right there for all of us to see. And it kind of just makes you question exactly what these old men are up to, bro. Like, what are y'all doing? Hi, that's how he plays.
Yeah. Lock him up, says Snay.
Agreed.
Yeah. I don't know. Gareth, would you do it? Would I do what? Would I do what?
Would you ask a young kid to
God, no.
suck on your tongue, give your
not.
tongue a little bit of caressing?
I do think that there are people who are born with a thing for little kids, and I'm so fucking grateful that I don't have that issue. That it's not something that turns me on, that it's not something that I find exciting, because it must be the hardest life to lead. I mean, imagine that's your thing. That's what turns you on, right?
Yeah,
I think the worst thing, because you just know, first of all, the whole of society is going to hate you, and rightly so. They're going to be like, you are predating upon young and innocent people. It's just so gross. And I think that there are a lot of people who grow up in a society where maybe they don't have, like Michael Jackson, he didn't have his own childhood and kind of fixates on youth or whatever. I don't know what the reasons for this are, but clearly it's a psychological issue, right? It's something that
definitely
it like switches on for them at some point in their lives, and then they never really get rid of it. And the best they can do in their life is not act upon their fantasies. But it must be so horrible to live your life. That's the thing that turns you on, and you're not allowed to do it. It's got to be the worst ever. Ugh, it's terrible.
Yeah. No, these things are definitely linked to like psychological things, and very quite directly linked to their childhoods and how they grew up and how affection was treated in their lifestyle. So yeah, look, I'm personally just I'm quite disgusted at this video, and my Easter weekend could have gone on without me seeing it. More than like, I don't want to see it.
I agree with that. We've got to talk about the fact that it is not going to be a long time now until King Charles gets crowned, and South Africa maybe not as excited as the British are. The British get so excited about this stuff that it becomes their obsession. So on the 6th of May, which is not that far from now, it's less than a month away, they're going to have the coronation of King Charles, which is all very exciting, and a lot of people are massively into this. But I'm a little bit worried, because have you seen Charles's fingers?
Not lately. I haven't done my annual check-in on Charles's fingers.
Well, I mean, maybe this will change your mind, because I'm going to show you a picture now of King Charles's fingers, and you tell me if you think these don't look like pink pork sausages before they get cooked. Have a look at those.
Ooh, what's going on, bro?
I know, right?
Mm-hmm. Why do they look so juicy? This is it's giving not gold member, it's giving Austin Powers, that really, really big. No. What's going on? Charles Batong. Is this why nobody wanted to perform? Is this why everybody that was asked to perform at the coronation was like, nah? Because the way them fingers are set up.
Why does King Charles have big pink pork sausages for fingers? What's going on there? What's that all about? Somebody can maybe explain it to me. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe it's a condition that he has. They look a bit swollen to me. That color's not healthy either. That color looks like there's a circulation issue going on too.
Yeah, maybe it's like a health thing. Maybe we're just being like facetious. Like maybe he's actually sick. What if he's sick?
Maybe you can get rid of it before the coronation, but I don't know. That's a serious health issue, man. Is Billy?
Yeah, it must be.
Slippery Pickle says those look like Econo-Russians.
Damn.
Thoughts and prayers to that ring. That thing is never going anywhere in a hurry. It's kind of welded to his finger.
It's quite stuck on there.
Yeah. Suck my fingers, said Charles. Oh, did you want to suck my fingers? It's marvelous to have a little taste of my pork sausages.
Oh. It's Tuesday morning.
Yeah, no, it's gross. So Snai says, Gareth, I was about to pull out slices of salami for lunch when you put this. Oh my God. Okay, so Carl Carl wants me to ask Chat GPT what's wrong with Charles's fingers. Let's see if
Oh, that's
Chat.
hilarious. That is hilarious.
I know we're meant, everybody says to us, no, you must use Chat GPT for the right reasons. You must use it for X, Y, and Z. It's a very useful tool. Here we are. What are we doing? We're screwing on. Like, tell us about Prince Charles's fingers. That's what we use it for. It's unbelievable. We're so stupid. All right, let me try this. Here we are.
I'm here for it.
Okay. What is wrong with King Charles'
fingers? Oh my gosh.
Fingers.
I love it for us.
They look like pork sausages. You give it more information and you comment, and then it's probably going to give you a better answer. Let's see what it says. So, I'm sorry, but as an AI language model, I cannot provide a definitive answer to your question, as it is not clear which King Charles you're referring to. Okay, wait.
So take it a step further.
I mean,
explain.
King Charles
of England
of
the third.
Let's see. All right, let's see. I do not have access about the physical appearance of King Charles.
I feel like they just not even trying to get involved. Like, hey man.
Like, this is a perfect example of why OpenAI or ChatGPT is just bullshit. Because it says, I cannot give information about the physical appearance. Then it says, it is important to remember that making derogatory comments about someone's physical appearance is not respectful or appropriate.
Aww.
And it's important to be kind and respectful towards others. Fuck you. Do you know what humor is, you piece of shit AI?
You know it doesn't know what humor is, Gareth. Like, that is the one thing I don't think they've put in there.
Look at those fingers. ChatGPT doesn't count for shit until it can explain that to me. Sorry. That's what I expect. I expect explanations for those fingers.
Otherwise, this is so important to Gareth. Yeah. Like, we need to know.
I'm not taking you seriously. Okay? So there we go. All right. Lucky ChatGPT. It's really one if it hasn't seen Charles III. All right. So let's get cracking. I see George is here. Good. George Meany is back. Take a little break. He is back in the saddle. So that means we will be seeing George on Friday.
Very exciting.
All right. So at 7:30 this morning, we're going to have an interesting guest, and I'll tell you about her before we take the break. Candice Chirwa is an award-winning academic, author, TEDx speaker, podcaster, and social entrepreneur. She's affectionately known as the Minister of Menstruation. Now, I know that's going to put a lot of people off immediately. It very much did me when I got the email from her. But she takes an interest in gender and youth issues in South Africa. She believes women and girls deserve fundamental human rights, but they have them, is my question. So she's been recognized on global and local platforms for her contribution of changing the disempowering narrative around period stigma. So, I mean, this is something
dope.
that so most people would say, oh, well, don't talk about that. But we're going to. So this morning at 7, that's going to be really interesting. And I'm going to let Lebang lead the way because I don't really have questions about this, but I'll be interested to see what I can learn. And that's all coming fast.
I think it's like part of the reason why you'd want to have her on is because of that stigma of period talk. Like, this is a natural part of so many of our lives. Like, as a woman, I didn't choose this. I just woke up like this. So we also almost trying to change that stigma, but she's really cool. So we're gonna chat to her at like 7:30, yeah?
Yes. No, we'll do that in just a short while. Stick around for that and a whole lot more. cliffcentral.com. It is Tuesday morning after a nice long weekend. I hope you're ready for a 4-day week. That is what's happening today.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
But essentially, after they'd stolen the stuff and put in the Model X, they tried to get away with it. About 15 minutes later, the cops were able to find them charging the vehicle at a charging station with all the stolen goods. And yeah, I mean, they couldn't get away with the stuff, obviously the loot, because the car had died. So there's another plus to having EVs.
Because it's the length of charging time.
Less crime, potentially less crime.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a good start to your Tuesday and you are up and about and making things happen. A lot of people telling me how to use Chat GPT, and they're all probably right, because I'm bound to ask it stupid questions. And you know, maybe I should have left out the thing about pork sausages.
Perhaps.
But I got a message on Instagram from somebody who listens to the show who is clearly using Chat GPT in the right way, because she was asking you about work emails and how to perfect a work email, where the intention is this, you want to achieve that, you want to get people to think this. And the responses that she gets from ChatGPT are absolutely spot on. So I think it's all about how you use it. You know, they say that eventually the discerning factor between the people who will benefit from it the most and the people who will not benefit from it at all is the type of questions that you ask. So if you ask the right questions, you will get the right answers. But if you ask the wrong questions, ChatGPT may as well be operating in a language that you don't understand.
Yeah, but with all the fuss around it, every second Tom, Dick, and Harry has all the information on how to use it. If you want to know more about how to effectively operate on ChatGPT, you know, follow these. There's all these facts and all these things. Like, you know, meh. I'm still very meh around it, but I know that the time will come where I probably have to wrap my head around it properly. I've just been using it for like surface level stuff, you know, like, okay, cool. These are the ingredients that I've got. What can I prepare? Or how, like, synonyms, blah, blah, blah. I haven't really taken it to that level, but I know that that level is there. And there are people that are doing so much that they like even making money off of just operating from Chat GTP. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But good for y'all.
I mean, that's all very helpful. We need to know these things.
Sure.
And I think that we will discover the best way to maximize the utility of ChatGPT as we go along. Of course, in the meantime, there's going to be idiots like me asking it stupid questions. So lucky you, I get to test it out as well.
Yeah. Gareth, remember I told you I'm on the school's PAC committee, Parents Association. One of the things that came up in the meeting that we had previously was that these kids are using ChatGPT to write all of their essays, to do all of their homework. So now the school is trying to find almost like a counter app or like a counter program that can now just check if the kids are actually doing the work or if they just simply, you know, typing the question into ChatGPT. It's all interesting. What interesting times. I never thought that this is what we'd be facing. Like when I was growing up, I didn't know. I mean, I was hoping for flying cars, but this is a start.
No, it's very cool. Listen, if you ask it the right stuff, you'll get some fantastic answers. I'm not doubting that for a second. All right, let's get on with it. We've got some things to do, people to see, places to go. Apparently, Elon Musk is building a new battery factory in Shanghai in China. So, you know, we need these Tesla batteries are apparently like the most incredible, advanced, forward-thinking kind of technology. You know, battery technology hasn't moved on very much since it was invented. And they're trying to find better ways to store energy, because we have all these terrific ways of harnessing energy, but then we've got to store it somewhere. And, you know, if you've got things like solar or you've got an inverter, the battery is the most complicated part of that setup, because it needs to store the energy somewhere, and batteries are seemingly the only way that you can do that right now. So the more advanced this technology gets, the better for everybody, and the better the batteries, the more energy we can store, clearly, which is a big story. So the latest on this from Shanghai in China is that The plant will be able to produce 10,000 of its Megapack energy storage units in a year. There'll be a Megapack is a very large battery, just by the way, for those of you who don't know, I don't know, that can be used to stabilize energy grids and prevent power outages. Tesla has already got a Megapack plant in California that produces 10,000 units each year. He said on Twitter that the new Chinese plant will be in addition to the US factory, so they're not replacing one with the other. We're going to start later on this year, and China is the biggest producer of batteries in the world, which Tesla will be able to tap into to increase production and lower costs. The announcement came as the US government has been pressing American companies to become less reliant on China. But Elon says, no, I'm going to go and put some money in there.
Hey, it's nice. It's nice to be Elon. Eh? You can actually just do whatever you want.
That's whatever you want. But I mean, good. They're also building a factory in Mexico for Tesla. You know about this?
Okay, cool.
You know how America unfortunately shot themselves in the foot here because they made it too expensive to do the stuff at home. So if you're a company that makes cars or batteries, as in the case of Tesla, you want to have the cheapest labor you can. Otherwise, it increases the cost of your vehicles or your batteries. So it makes perfect sense. And if you're going to create a whole bunch of minimum wage requirements, a whole lot of labor laws, of course, people are going to go, nah, you know what, we'll skip that. We'll just go to Mexico or China. They don't care about that stuff. You can charge people less for this. Anyway.
The sweatshops be sweating.
Wen says, have you seen the Al Jazeera documentary Gold Mafia? No, we did talk about this on Thursday with Pumi. So take a listen to that podcast if you want to hear it on Thursday. We discussed all of this stuff with Pumi. Post-apocalyptic movies back in the mid-2000s always depict future people as being dumb. I see how that is going to happen right now. Yeah, it always bothered me that they made people of the future look really stupid. Like they just spend their whole day doing nothing. They're just entertaining themselves, recreational stuff. Nobody's actually doing anything valuable or useful. It always bothered me. I thought, that's not good. And then I suddenly thought, well, if you think about Chat GPT and how the artificial intelligence is getting smarter and the humans are actually getting dumber, it doesn't surprise me that in the future somewhere, it could be the situation that people will be way stupider than they are right now.
Are we finding that balance between making life easier for ourselves and just making us more and more stupid? I mean, I think we touched on this quite briefly a few weeks ago, Gareth, where they had created that new toilet that now tells you what's going on in your system, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I don't need to go to a doctor anymore, do I? All I need to do is take a piss, and then you can tell me if I'm pregnant again or not. Like,
God, how funny.
are we helping the human race, or are we just like screwing ourselves? That is $1 million question.
I don't know. I mean, the idea that a toilet is going to be diagnosing you every time you go for a pee, it's going to be like, whoop, you've got problems.
Yeah, like, you know, I don't want to hear that.
You wake up at 3 a.m. to go for a pee, and you're like, I do not need health advice at 3 a.m. Do not talk to me.
Don't talk to me. Like, just let me pee and just be on my way. Just auto flush and like let's keep it moving. But it is quite scary. It is. Oof. Yeah, especially with this like virtual world stuff. I know we've all been talking about it for a while for the past couple of years, but it actually is becoming so real. What's happening there over in Meta and how these brands are just like falling for all of that advertising space in there. That place is growing, and we're becoming less and less human. People are struggling with basic human interaction because all they know is device interaction. So we're screwed.
Well, I mean, I was talking to somebody about this just over the weekend, and I said I think it was like she's a parent, and she's got 2 younger boys, but they're obviously going to grow up soon. They'll be teenagers before you know it, and then they're going to be trying to date. I was like, you know, at least her kids are well balanced, and they've grown up properly. They're not attached to their devices the whole time, like eyes are on the screen. But I wonder how it's going to be trying to date in the next 5 to 10 years for these kids, because they're okay with They're okay with typing, right? So they'll be like,
Mm,
busy, 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 busy. When they
mm.
suddenly face to face with a person, they're like, I don't know what
Orcs.
to say now. Yeah, which is
Where do you
terrible.
start? How do you say hello? It's
Yeah.
very terrible. It's scary as hell. And what's even scarier is that they they haven't really done the research yet. Because it hasn't happened, we're kind of like just all sitting and waiting to see what the aftermath will be. There's no
Mhm.
real facts. The scientists haven't said, "Oh well, we did this test
Yeah.
on this many kids and your kids are fucked." We're just waiting. We're just like watching them screw themselves over. I actually recorded an episode of Life with Lebang a few weeks ago about, having your kids stay off devices. Guys, it's so lit out there.
Um, and did people get angry with you?
I mean, of course, because my first thing was like how parents are enabling their children to, to really just be on their devices. Parents are lazy these days. They don't want to sit and engage with their children. They don't want to,
No.
spend time with their kids.
Is
They
it-
just go watch TV. Here's the tabby. Da 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 da. And you get surprised when your child is addicted to their screen.
Or they have no brains and they're just doing this the whole time.
Precisely.
All right, so
Precisely. It's a lot. It's a lot.
on that note, George Meany says he took a break from everything, including digital life. It was amazing. I would recommend it to reprioritize. So, I mean, we'll discuss this with George on Friday, obviously. But I think
good
that's a
idea.
really good idea.
Mm.
I mean, maybe now in April is the best time to actually try it. You have these long weekends, and maybe this coming weekend is a normal one. But then after that, we've got another long one. Isn't that right? I mean, there's a double
yeah.
long one at the end of the month. But
Yes.
anyway, the fact is, it's a 4-day week this week. It's a 4-day week the next week. So actually, this is a good time to test that stuff out.
It is. But like, is it going cold turkey or is it like, slowly minimizing time spent on the devices? Because I hear the whole thing of just taking a break, shutting myself off from the world, blah, 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 just doing me. And I can appreciate those people whose personalities can cater to that type of thing. But for the rest of us bozos, we need help. We can't just like quit and just like, run off. Like, is it limiting your screen time, going from 6 hours a day on social media to 3 hours, from 3 hours to 1 hour? Like, how do we replace our activities? Do we now pick up more books? I'd really like somebody who's successfully and truthfully done this to shed some light. Like, because I'm tired of like finding information on the internet. I need a human being to tell me, this is how we can be done.
Let's try the cold turkey thing, because I don't think you need to. The only reason you wean yourself off of things is because there is a physically difficult byproduct to that, which is your dependence on it has to be slowly reduced over time. I don't think that that's the case for these phones. You think about how we used to behave before we had them. All right. And I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, but don't be so old school and so stupid. Things have changed. Here's the reality, right? Nobody is that important that they need to be available 24/7. Everybody thinks they're so important. Everyone's looking to talk to you. Everybody's just spending their whole day thinking about how they can be on the phone or giving instructions or taking instructions from Lebang. It's not true. Nobody needs you that much. They'll all be fine. And furthermore, once they know that you're not available, they'll treat you with more respect. I think you got to go cold turkey. You just decide, all right, this weekend, tough titties. If you're trying to get me, automated message on emails. I'm not available this weekend at all. If it's really, really important, tough. You'll have to wait till Monday. Bye-bye. That's it.
Okay.
Try it.
No, let's give it a test. Let's test it. Let's see how it works. And then we give each other feedback. Because like our whole lives are in these small phones, bro. Like, and everything is in there. Emails, family, work, blah, blah. And because of the nature of our industry, we kind of always have to be on the pulse of things. And how are you going to be on the pulse of things if you're not finding out what's happening out there? So let's see how it goes. We can try it. But hey.
Dogozo says, I'm back at the gym as of yesterday again. I'm the fat, weak guy at the gym again. Well, at least you're back. Well done to you.
Step one.
Ilza says, have you ever seen an adult freak out if their phone breaks? I have. It doesn't bother me at all. My phone broke and I actually picked up knitting. And wow, this is pretty amazing. And playing guitar.
That's so cool.
Nice. See?
Oh, man. Okay, cool. Sounds encouraging.
go on like how people will date in the future. In 10 years, says Just Plain Jared, there's a very realistic possibility that teenagers will use avatars to meet up in virtual chat rooms. When you actually look, what you actually look like won't matter either.
That last part is very interesting. So we'll all just be catfishing each other and just keeping it moving.
See, I would be just immediately put off if I'm talking to someone and they don't look like they look in their picture. Sorry. It's, you know what it is? It's false advertising. It's no, it is a misrepresentation. I'm sorry. You should be sued for that.
You said you were going to be hot. Now you're not. I don't want to be on this date.
You're some big, fat, ugly person, and you're telling me that you're like a hot 28-year-old with this body type, and you got these eyes and you got that kind of hair, and meanwhile you're this dumpy, ugly little troll. And now I have to carry on talking to you as if you were what you said you were, and then I find out that you're not. I'm going to be furious.
People are suffering, Gareth. People are actually suffering. They have insecurities. And for you and for me, obviously...
Let me just be clear about this in case you didn't hear me the first time. I don't give a fuck about their suffering. I do not have to spend my life going around trying to fix other people's shit lives. If I want to meet someone for a romantic or a sexual or a personal relationship of some kind, I don't care about your suffering. In fact, it's going to put me off. It's not going to turn me into anything more kind and caring and considerate. Stay away from me if you've got those issues. Just stay away.
Yeah, stay clear of Gareth.
But be honest. If you start off your description of yourself by going, I have the following mental health issues, I'm out.
Ooh. But isn't that part of the problem? The problem is now, mental issues are just used as like a thing that you can bring up and then you become more cool or relevant or whatever. But
they're a replacement for personality, because a lot of people don't have any personality. So they claim personality problems or mental health problems as their personality, because they've never actually sat down, read a book, had an opinion on anything, thought seriously about something, been able to make a joke about something. They're exactly the kind of people that would do the opposite of attract me to them.
Look, we're so like, it's not for us, but these kids, Gareth, who are also growing up in this time where they're not getting enough human contact, this will become a norm, is what I'm understanding from that comment, is that for these kids, they'll never have to be in the same room with each other. They'll constantly just be online operating as avatars, and that is scary.
Well, I hate to point the obvious out, but you are not going to produce the next generation if you're getting together in chat rooms as avatars. There's going to be no physical interaction. There isn't going to be a next generation. Then humans will go extinct. And if you think that's a good idea, just imagine how you'd feel if your ancestors thought that was a good idea. Then you wouldn't be here.
You wouldn't be here.
So stupid, just stupid. But I do see the point.
It's messy.
Pablo says, I just downloaded the Screen Time app, and I saw all of the hours that this device sucked out of me. Man.
You know, when you are faced with the facts, because in your mind it's like, I'm just scrolling really quickly. When your phone tells you that in 24 hours you've been on here for 6 of those nonstop, and then it tells you which app you're spending the most time on. You were on Instagram for 2 hours. You were on Twitter for an hour and a half. You were on, and you see that this is what I'm spending my time on. That's when it hits you that, okay, I think I've got a problem. It's real. We lie to ourselves when we say, I'm doing okay. I'm not that bad. I'm all right. You're not all right.
My worst day was Wednesday last week.
What were you on? Take a lot.
3 hours and 12 minutes. Most of that on WhatsApp. Then a little bit on Instagram, a little bit on YouTube, a lot on podcasts. Ooh, but if it considers podcasts, no wonder my numbers are so high, because I spend my whole day listening to podcasts. I listen on the way in, on the way back. I listen while I'm doing other things. So if it's going to count podcasts as screen time, I'm in trouble. That shouldn't really count, right?
It doesn't count because, you're not looking at your screen, just consuming. You're almost like, it's still, it's giving you an opportunity to like be imaginative, which I think is a very important part of, keeping your creativity alive. However, Gareth, 3 hours a day is actually quite okay.
You
3
think?
hours is, it's not bad. There's people out there who are like knocking at the doors of like 8 to 10 hours a day. 3 hours is not bad, I promise. If anything, 3 hours is like a good average. So you're doing okay. I promise you,
Jesus.
you're fine. You're
I
fine.
feel like really bad. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well, it's if you break it down, it says I spent most of my time on social media, then entertainment, then health and fitness. Okay.
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay.
All right. Yeah, let's
Can't
see.
say the same for the rest of us. Let's
we-
see after this weekend. Let's do
Let's
this
go.
test. I really want us to do it, dude.
And we'll take screenshots of our screen time
To prove,
and
yeah.
then compare them next week, Tuesday. So this
Sure.
coming weekend is the weekend of testing. I'm not going to switch the whole thing off. I'm going to just see if I can minimize it. And whoever you don't have to switch it off. You don't have
Yeah.
to throw your phone into a safe or anything. Let's just see if we can reduce. If I can get less than 3 hours, I'll be very pleased.
I don't even want to check what my screen time is. I know it's bad.
Really?
I just know it. Yeah. I'm actually thinking, let's not start this weekend. Let's start in May. So we've got like a clean slate and we can just like get it.
She's already postponing it. And then May will come along and she'll have some excuse for May. I can see it
May's my
already.
birthday month. So obviously I'm chatting to people, like planning and stuff. June, it's a little bit too cold. I'll be snuggled in bed. So I'll need to have my screen on. Oh, yeah, no, it's cool. Let's do it.
Rabbit
Yes,
says,
yes.
you guys aware that a third of Pretoria has no electricity due to 7 pylons that were blown over on Sunday? The support structures were stolen for scrap metal. Now, I know about this because we have a new mayor in Pretoria, a guy called Celias Brink, and he sent out a message to pretty much everyone in Pretoria to say that they're on the scene, they're sorting it out. So apparently these, those huge pylons that carry those massive high tension cables that supply
Yeah.
electricity. So apparently what's been happening is that the scrap metal people have been taking away the supports on the legs of those pylons. And then obviously the
Damn.
wind comes along and it blows them over. Now, I think if you touch any public infrastructure or you take away anything from public infrastructure and you make them, there's a reason that they build them that way, is because they need those supports in order to stay up in the wind. If you take that down, you should be arrested and thrown in jail for the rest of your life. There should be there's no reason for us to have, we don't even need an explanation. We can see why you took it. You wanted to sell the scrap metal, right? We understand that.
Because you're hungry, you don't have a job. We get it. Unemployment, we get it.
But what you do is you destroy expensive public infrastructure because you're stupid, and therefore
Precisely.
stupid needs to pay a price. So you're going to jail for the rest of your life. And in the meantime, a third of Pretoria now has no electricity. I mean, it's just outrageous. Apparently, these cables fell across the highway, which meant that the N4 to Witbank was closed as well. So just really unacceptable. People should be arrested and we should make an example of them. And I hope that they catch the guys who've taken away this metal because they've got to lock them in jail. Sorry. Very interesting point there being made by Mo Rabbit. And Dogoza says, I've gone cold turkey for now, Lebang. I'm definitely that personality type that can stay away from the world for a bit. Great way to focus on working on myself and self-aligning. It's necessary.
I love that for you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to be spending the month of May and June, and probably whatever's left of April. I may as well start today, just getting myself back into shape as well. Not that I'm fat like a tick, but I'm
You're
going
doing
to be
okay. Yeah,
I'm gonna be
you got it going on still, G. And I said this earlier. Summer
I'm doing it.
bodies are made in winter. This is the time to really, the gym's
Good.
gonna be empty. Nobody's trying to wake up and get out of their warm, comfortable bed to go to the gym. So if you are sure and serious about how you want to look and most importantly feel in spring, now is your chance. Go do your thing. I will be rooting for you.
Right. Most of the cuck in the world, says Ruth, is made from codependent relationships or horrid work situations. Okay, a lot of people still talking about how people will date in the future by having these avatars, essentially. Goon says it's a mask like makeup. I have images in my head for certain personalities. Life becomes a comedy. Interesting point. George also says podcasts are educational. Well, in most cases, that's different to brainless consumption. I agree. That's why it shouldn't be on the screen time app.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other people are talking about what they can do and can't do. Oh, Dogoza says, I average about 2 hours 10 screen time minutes a week. 2 hours 10. a week.
How are you doing that?
That's pretty damn impressive.
That's
I gotta
so
say
good.
that.
Yo,
Very
my daily average is 4.5 hours. Ooh, that's not good. But it's down
Cliff Central
12% from last week, so I'm okay.
I'm already 1 hour 20 minutes thanks to the Cliff Central app and GCS. I'll probably be 5 hours by midday. Well, again, if this is useful and interesting, and I think it is, then you're not just doing mindless screen timing, right? The bottom line on these pylons is who is buying the scrap? That is railway stuff and all. It is so hard to investigate the scrap dealers. Well, I think if you are caught with scrap metal in your car or bucky or truck, and you can't explain where it comes from, straight to jail. Straight to jail.
Do
Means
not
you've
pause
taken
begin. Go.
right. I mean, how can we just be tolerating this? What are the police doing? This is what they're there for. Economic sabotage, life sentence minimum, says Copperhead. How do they cut the metal? Surely an angle grinder is required. Well, this is probably what they use. I don't
I
know.
think these must be inside people. Like you must know what you're doing and what you're gonna do with these scrap metals in order for you to even be interested in jacking it. And they always jacking it. So it's definitely the guys inside. Start with them. Like find
Yeah.
out what they are up to. Search their homes. Lock
Mhm.
them up. You know? We're just suffering
No,
here.
I think like this again boils down to nobody sat any of these people down and said to them, whether it's the dealers, the ones who are buying the stuff, or the guys who are stealing the stuff, sit them down and said, do you realize like we don't put all that metal into a pylon just because we have extra metal lying around and we want to use it somewhere. Do you
Sure.
realize that if you take one of those supports off of there, it's going to collapse the whole thing. And then that's going to cost everybody more money. And of course, you'll get your 5 or 10 rand for that little piece of aluminium or whatever metal it is that you're stealing. But do you realize that it's tens of millions of rands to replace this stuff? And now I'm afraid if you didn't realize it, now you're going to pay the price. You're going to be put in jail until we've got the equivalent of the tens of million rands that you've caused the economy to have to spend on stuff
Yeah.
that should have been fine for another 20, 30 years.
Gareth, they're not thinking that far. The people that are stealing these cables, they are thinking, what am I going to eat tonight? What am I going to eat tomorrow? There's no consequence. There's no accountability. None of that exists. In our world, it does. And we obviously are the first people that would point that out because we suffer. There's no reason for Pretoria to have no electricity because of that. For them, they've eaten, they've probably shut that food out, and now they're just looking for the next fix, which really does suck.
I've noticed this too. Ad B says, when last did you drive from Lanseria to the Dome? At first, they took every single street pole down to strip the wires out. Then they took the poles away as well. You see, I reckon and I noticed on one of the roads here near me, they've also, all those, the lights are lying on their sides. They've been destroyed, right? I think if you are caught doing that stuff, immediately life sentence in jail. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to make it so expensive for you to be able to do that stuff that if you get caught doing it, you go straight into prison and you never come out. No one ever sees you again. Done. No visitors.
Nothing. We were speaking a few weeks ago about those, those car guards, or not car guards, but the homeless guys that sort of just start to direct traffic without being asked. Well, they're helpful, sure, but apparently they are the ones that are actually cutting these robots and messing up the actual car. When you're driving and the robots aren't working because load shedding, there's those homeless guys who'll be there directing the traffic on behalf of whoever appointed them. Most of the times they are the very same guys that have cut the cables and messed it up so that they can stand there and do this. It's now just a way for them to eat. It's pretty messed up, but it's a clear insight into how bad it is on the ground in South Africa. If you're that guy at the bottom, like this is what you're resorting to. You're resorting to that because it's just so messy.
All right, let us turn our attention to the Minister of Menstruation. She joins us right now. Hey, Candice, how are you?
Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
Hey, Candice.
I'm very good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Candice, by way of introduction, she is an award-winning academic, author, TEDx speaker, podcaster, and social entrepreneur. And she joins us this morning in her guise as the Minister of Menstruation. She's got a couple of shows going on, and she's got lots of interesting stuff to tell us this morning. So I thought we'd get you on our show, and we could talk a little bit about the work that you do. So nice to have you here, first of all. Tell us a little bit about how you got your sobriquet of Minister of Menstruation?
Well, I assure you it happened after the Minister of Electricity was appointed. It just wasn't televised. So yeah, because menstruation is such a private taboo issue, we just thought that would save the nation the shame and embarrassment of having to talk openly about these issues. But, thank you for having me on the show. I think when I was listening to the introduction of it, I was seeing a few comments where people were like, the Minister of what? What do you mean? And it really is not even just about having this platform, but it is talking about issues around period poverty, not only in South Africa, but around the world. Period poverty is a human rights issue that impacts not only young girls, but women and people who menstruate. It has major implications on education, hygiene, access to wash facilities. And also,
and again, I just stop you right there. Like you said, young girls and people who menstruate. I mean,
She said that.
What do you mean? Because it's only girls who menstruate. So what are we talking about?
Gareth, we're going to do a lot of debunking of myths today, and I love this because I think it's important, right?
What does that mean?
So people who menstruate, or menstrual activists use the word menstruators. It's an inclusive term to include people who don't identify as women and girls, who are intersex or trans and actually experience their period, whether they've gone through the transition using hormones or have actually, are born with the reproductive system that actually causes your menstruation to happen. So the only reason we use the word people who menstruate is to be inclusive in that when a menstruator
It's to lie. It's to lie. It's to tell lies, because if you have a female reproductive system, you will menstruate if you're a healthy person. And we are now lying to accommodate the feelings of people who identify differently. That's what you're doing.
No, I don't think it's a lie at all. It's a real lived experience.
Explain it to me in some other way. No. Hold on. No lived experience bullshit on this show, I'm afraid.
Okay.
How do you explain using a term like people who menstruate when everybody knows the only people who menstruate are people who have female reproductive systems?
Well, I'm just speaking on the experiences of trans and intersex people who have actually spoken about the experiences of not able to use a tampon or a pad, but use period underwear, who have actually experienced taking hormones and have said they experienced their period, right? I am not someone who is a trans person. I'm a cis heteronormative woman, but I actually have to be inclusive in my approach as a menstrual activist, right? Even in my period podcast that I have, there is a menstruator who speaks about their experience of menstruating and how part of building a period positive world is ensuring that it is inclusive, so that we are not only just sort of seeing it as a woman and girls issue, but we are also...
What do you do with those guys who have transitioned? Now they believe that they're women and they want people to call them women, but they don't have periods, but they're talking about like how they use tampons and things. I mean, that's just obviously theater, right? That's pantomime. Guys who say that they're experiencing life as a woman, but they have male stuff going on, so they can't actually ever have a period, but they pretend to have a period. Are you including them as well?
Well, I don't think it's therefore fair to speak on people's experiences who pretend to have a period. We are being exclusive on ensuring that people who do have their period that don't identify as women.
Why would it be important? Why would it be important to include people? Include is the word you use. People who are deliberately misleading us about who they are or what they are. Why would it be important to include those people?
Sure, because part of the period stigma is that we've sort of termed it as a woman and girls issue only, and that therefore places the responsibility of women and girls to fix period poverty, but also, trans and intersex people want to be included in the conversation. If we look at, a lot of period product organizations that have period underwear, most of their advertising includes people who don't look or perceive as women and girls. So this is a conversation that I think we are still having. And your question is valid, right? Because I think a lot of people have perceptions to say it's only a woman and girls issue, but this is the reality for so many people who are trans and intersex.
Let's not focus
on period poverty and not necessarily.
I don't want to waste
Candice,
I don't want to waste time talking about what maybe makes up 1% of the people that we're addressing this morning, because really that 1% has become so over important and overinflated, and everybody's talking about the trans community. We're not talking about women anymore. And I think that period poverty is a serious problem all over the world. It's a serious problem here in South Africa and in Africa. How are we doing what kind of resources and support do young girls in South Africa receive from government, from private healthcare, from public institutions? And what is the gap that we need to fill in order to bring those girls to a point where they don't have to skip school because they are, having a period or
Sure.
something like that?
Yeah. So I want people to really recognize that a period is a transition from childhood to adulthood. And because we don't necessarily ensure that access to menstrual products, young girls will have a difficult time going to school, concentrating because of the period pain that they experience or any other period symptoms that they will have. The statistics in South Africa show that up to 7 million girls cannot afford to buy menstrual products, whether these are tampons, whether these are pads, whether these are menstrual cups. Every month, young girls will have to use unhygienic and safe and sort of not even safe materials, unhygienic materials as a way to go to school. So you can imagine, using a toilet paper or using newspaper or using
Gareth can't imagine that.
Like it's that thing of like, imagine if toilet paper was not provided in a school, a place to spend 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 months a year for 12 years as a child. How would that impact your mental and your physical well-being, right? But then this also stems deeper to not just ensuring that we provide access to these products, but there's so many young children who have to then use pit latrines. And how do you manage your period? How do you manage changing your period product in a pit latrine when there's no access to water? They can't wash their hands. And then we go into the education, right? So on top of experiencing all of these obstacles, you then have to deal with this isolation and the psychological experience of saying, well, if I stay in my uniform, the chances are I'm probably going to be bullied or someone's going to mock me. And this isn't just a South African issue, but even in Kenya, there have been reports of young girls who have committed suicide because their female teachers or their male teachers or even their students have mocked and bullied them for something that is a natural biological function, right? So what we're as menstrual activists advocating for is to ensure that people firstly understand the importance around periods as a natural thing, but also to say, well, what is the responsibility I have, not only just placing it on government and civil society, but what's the responsibility do I have as a parent, as a teacher, as a person who is dating someone who is who menstruates, whether you're a woman or girl? Well, how do we have these conversations? How do we remove the period stigma? What do we do to just ensure that we're building a period positive world? And I think what's really important is that people see period poverty as a human rights issue, because when we see it that way, then we'll treat it appropriately. We'll then apply the pressure on government to say it is necessary to ensure that we have access to period products. It is necessary that young girls have access to the facilities they need to change their period products, and it's also necessary that they have the right education that informs them and empowers them to feel confident and empowered during this time of the month.
So, Candace, I hear all of that. I think like I'm more interested in the role that the parent plays in this, because it is a personal thing, right? But if we kind of sit back and say, well, the world needs to change to accommodate A, B, C, D, wada, 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 I think we're kind of starting off on the wrong foot, right? Like, yeah. I don't know if you feel me, but essentially what I'm asking is like, how do we kind of enhance the positive menstrual health vibe of things, but still make it very clear that this kind of boils down to the household? Because I think I'm just at a point where I'm tired of making excuses, and I'm tired of hearing, why our kids are suffering so much. The world needs to change, and this, and we need to include everybody, what. At the end of the day, if like this is your child and you're a parent, you're responsible essentially for your young daughter understanding what cycle she's going through. You're responsible for your young son understanding that there's women around them that will experience such and such a thing. It shouldn't really just be, on the rest of the world to shift their energy. Like so what?
Yeah, I think Lebang makes a good point. Like these are things that, and obviously there are some young girls who will grow up without a mom or without a grandma or something. And those cases are obviously, we have sympathy for those people, and there need to be other people in the community who stand up. But it's not everybody's responsibility to make sure that, girls know about their periods, or that girls have the It's not everybody's. It's like I
And
don't even.
boys know how to manage that. It's not just a girl thing. It's also like from a young age. Let's get the boys on board as well. Because the first thing that came up when we said Candace is going to be on the show, everyone was like, ew, that like see that mindset. I think that's pretty messed up. Like it shouldn't be it should just be normal. It's what we go through. It happens. So my question to you, Candace, is what are you guys doing, and what are you doing as the Minister of Menstruation to sort of get us into that thinking without making it this whole the world needs your, you know what I mean, like what are you guys doing to make this real? Like let's make it real.
I think what is really important to acknowledge, Lebang, is that, like you said, people are very apprehensive to talk about periods because there's that stigma. We've been conditioned to believe that our period should be private. No one should talk openly about it. And that ultimately means that young girls will grow up for many years not wanting to talk about their own symptoms, whether it's endometriosis, whether it's PCOS, and then they just feel isolated. And for me, what was important is that when I started my period at the age of 8, I felt very terrified. I felt like I had a disease because no one had that conversation with me. I only learned about menstruation from a biological perspective when I was in school, when I was 13. So it was a very long time to actually realize this is what's happening. And I had to learn how to use a pad on my own. I had to basically figure out this is painkillers and just figure it out on my own. So what I do in my own capacity as the Minister of Menstruation is not only just have an online platform, but through my nonprofit, we run these fun educational workshops for young people to learn about periods, and also just to ask questions about periods, because there are so many questions around it where people are like, okay, can I use a tampon on my period? Will it break my virginity? Can I, actually touch boys in my period? Will they feel weird about it? It's just, it's so important to debunk those myths. And for the past 5 years, we've been just running these workshops as a way to eradicate that stigma, but also change the disempowering narrative around it. So that when we are on platforms like these, we're not having overwhelming comments of people like, you've lost me, I don't want to talk about it. But the reality is everyone knows someone who menstruates. Everyone knows someone who is a girl or woman who
there's some
menstruates.
value. Like, isn't there some value in some stuff being private? I mean, I do understand, like there are obviously health concerns, but that's for you to discuss with your doctor. And I don't go around talking about my genitalia with every second, third, or fourth person. That's none of their fucking business. Why should I be doing that? And why should some girl come up to me that I don't even know and start telling me, the period flow is huge today, and I've got terrible.
The period flow is huge, Gareth.
It's huge.
You can't believe the cramp. The flow is this such flow. Like, why do I have to hold it?
The flow is just, Gareth, I think like at a sorry, Candace, I know this was for you, but on a more basic level, as kids in primary school, the lack of knowledge of this thing kind of lead to what Candace is saying. It's because boys don't really know anything about it, and the flow. You do, you do, Gareth. You do.
No. I don't need to know what it's. No, I don't need to know what it's like to be a quadriplegic in order to treat someone who doesn't have legs the same way as I treat everybody else. I don't have to know about the goings on of your intimate body parts in order for me to respect you as a human being. And I don't think it's fair of you to impose whatever you're going through on people around you. I don't do that to other people. How could you do that to them?
Well, I mean, we're speaking purely from a human rights perspective, right? We're speaking about why we should end period poverty, but part of that means eradicating. Women have all the same rights as men, and men have all the same rights as women. There's nothing in our constitution in this country. Then why does period poverty exist then, if that was the case? Do we think that, if the rights were the same, we would be having these conversations about ensuring access to period products, ensuring, that there's access to paid period leave? Why are we having these conversations then? I think that's why I'm not necessarily telling everyone about the intimacy of the fact that the ovary gets released every 21, 35 days, and this is what happens with the uterine lining.
What about the flow?
What I'm talking about is to say that people go through this experience once a month, and they don't have access to the necessary products that they need to manage their period in an effective way, right?
Lebang, you've worked with me for a while. When I've got something to do and I've got to sort something out, I do it and get on with it and then give you what you need from me. I don't come to you and say, I need you to help me do this when I know it's my responsibility. So I'm all for everybody in this country contributing to women's health, contributing to the availability of period products for girls. And I think that it is appalling that there are 7 million girls in this country who do not have access to that stuff. I think it is our responsibility as a nation to do this. But there are no differences in the rights between men and women. There is no piece of legislation that discriminates actively against women. If there was, it would have been passed a long time ago. So let's not start talking about laws and rights when actually this is a question of resources and of us being. I think that we've got to be careful. If you address the problem incorrectly, we say, oh, it's a human rights issue. Then suddenly it needs to be taken to the legislature. And we need to have all those people in parliament who can't sit the right way around in a toilet decide whether or not we're now going to have to change laws. We don't have to change laws. We just have to make these products more easily
these resources available.
and readily available to the young women who need them.
And my only issue is that because period is seen as a private issue, I think then we will have these policymakers not prioritize it. And I think that's why we are, as menstrual activists, we need to understand sort of the implications that are placed on one girl when she doesn't have access to pads for the month, right? It's set of implications that impact. So what we're trying to then lobby is to say, okay, well, if government has the access to these resources, let's ensure that there's a framework that exists. And government does have that framework. We've just not really seen it being implemented, or it's implemented with very private silos, right? So I think what's really important that you're asking here is to say, okay, well, beyond just me as an individual, beyond just me as a person who probably doesn't really care too much about periods, why are we not placing this attention on government? And it's like, well, we also need to remember this is a multi-layered issue. We can't talk about periods or can't fix the period poverty if we're not eradicating the stigma, the internalized stigma that we have. We can't implement.
So what is the stigma? Like, what's your ideal situation? Would you like more men and people who are not affected by menstruation to be talking about it the whole time? I mean, like, what would make it better when you talk about stigma in particular? Because this is something we can deal with, right? This is something we can sort out.
So I think, look, we're not asking men to just say vagina, 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 vagina the whole time.
I'm fine. And I wouldn't mind saying that. I don't have a problem. We've written songs about it on this show.
Right, I know. I think what we're saying is that men and boys should just learn about what it is, especially if men and boys are dating women and girls who menstruate, right? We can't just ultimately for 7 days disappear because, you know,
please believe me.
You're worried about how
there is not a guy, there is not a straight guy in the world who doesn't know what that is.
What do you mean?
They also, Gareth, they don't know. They don't know. Men and boys have no cooking clue. There are grown men this day who still think that blood comes out of the different part of the, like, the lack of education on this topic is just so insulting. So I think what Candice is saying is, at the very basis, know what I'm experiencing, not the intricate details, not exactly that what. Just understand that every once a month for a couple of days, this is what's going to be happening. Be there to support me. The end. That's all that's happening. And
part of that, Lebang, is also, like I said, we're focusing purely on intimate relationships, right? I think also there's an element where some men will use the period symptoms that you have no control over due to hormonal fluctuations as a way to weaponize you and make you feel less than, right? I don't know how many times I've heard men say, oh, you're just moody, get over it, or you're just
it's that time of the month.
Is it not true? I mean, okay, let's just go here, because I mean, I don't, again, this is an education thing, so you can't now be patronizing about this. If I'm asking questions, you have to answer me without looking at me like you two just did. So I'm asking, is it true that women are more moody when they're going through this? And is it true that sometimes they're a little bit more emotional and they need, you just said a bit more, support would be nice, Lebang. That's what you said. So is that support because you're especially prickly and, you're going through quite a lot at that time? Do we need to be, do we need to be aware of this? Because if it's a serious thing, then we mustn't say, oh, well, it's not an issue. Then men are right to say, oh, well, she's going through this thing every month and I need to be aware of it. What's the truth?
I did not go to Home Affairs to apply for my period. And so I would just really appreciate that, like, you just understand what I'm going through. I don't need you to understand what specific hormone is driving the specific symptom that I'm experiencing, but at least meet me halfway to be sensitive, if that's the right word, and not necessarily make me feel like I'm out of control.
My question is, why
Mm-hmm.
must I be especially sensitive, and why must I treat you that way at that particular time? Just answer that. Is it because you do have...
You mentioned earlier about respect, right? You want to respect human beings. And so I think that it applies the same way. Just because I'm on my period doesn't mean that respect must be null and void, right?
No one's taking anything away. Why must I be... No. This is a very particular question, and you're the Minister of Menstruation, so you can help all the men who are listening to this understand it. Why do you need a special amount of sensitivity during that time? Is it because you are especially sensitive and especially emotional for whatever reason? Is it that?
It is. Yes, it is that. It's hormonal fluctuations.
Then that's fine. 100%. And now most of the guys who are hearing this will go, oh, okay, well, I was told that was what it was, but I'm not allowed to say that because then it's kind of discriminating.
Don't use it against us. It's kind of,
don't
use it as a lever. Don't pull on it.
Wait a second. So I'm not allowed to use it against you, which is fine. I don't think it should be used against you. But we are admitting it is a thing. It affects the way that you feel, the way you behave, the way that you respond. And as a guy, we've got to be aware of that you do have slight changes in your personality and your behavior, which is cool. But then let's not pretend that doesn't happen. Because that's what a lot of women say to me. Oh, no, I'm no different. When I'm going through my period, I'm exactly the same. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like you see the mixed messages here? And then they go, ooh, I don't know what's expected here because they're giving me this message, but then they're giving me that message which contradicts that one. So
isn't that a part of the hormonal changes? Like Gareth, I can speak from being pregnant 4 times. Every time you're pregnant, it's your period every single day. So you never know what to expect. And that comment itself is part of the hormonalness of it all. And it's, again, this is not something that we signed up for. This is just a thing that is there and it's a fact. And if there was proper education on it from the jump. Yeah, nobody's blaming anyone. No, I'm not getting you wrong. I know we're aligned, Gareth. We are literally, the 3 of us are aligned because we all understand that at the end of the day, period poverty is the thing that we should be tackling here. There's no reason why young girls who are having their periods every month don't have access to these products in order to just get through the normal school day or the normal work day. And I say that to say this. Okay. In Spain, let me finish, Gareth. They passed a law that actually allows, especially painful periods, to take menstrual leave. Gareth, I know you're gonna love this. So if you're at work and you're having really, really sore periods, you are allowed to take leave. They are now allowing that because they are seeing the effects that this is having on women that are struggling at work, struggling at home with just their periods. And I think that's dope.
It is dope. And, Spain is not the first country to do it. In 1920, Japan did it. Kenya is the first, Zambia is the first African country to do it. And I think what you rightly mentioned, Gareth, with describing the hormonal fluctuations and the sensitivities that we go through, we have up to 150 behavioral symptoms with regards to our period. We don't experience all 150 at the same time, but there's a long list of symptoms that we could experience. And so ultimately, again, in building this period positive world, we're saying when we've left the school setting, or if we're in work, what we're asking for is during that time of the month, we can have the ability to take a couple of days off, especially if we experience very severe period symptoms. And that is
I do think that's excellent. I think that's very, very smart. And I think that it's good that countries like Japan and Spain have led the way in this, and Kenya. And I think it's terrific. But don't you believe that that's going to put a lot of people off if they've got 2 candidates, one's a male and one's a female, and there's a possibility that female is going to take off an extra 3 days a month because of this? Do you think that people aren't going to choose the male?
Look, that is a major concern in terms of discrimination, right? But I think in general, women do experience any form of discrimination when they're at a job interview, where they say you have plans to have children, plans to settle down as a family. And the thing is, with the reality of our periods, is that one could experience brain fog, nausea, bloatedness, period pain, headaches, maybe like just
So
a lot of symptoms.
definitely not a good idea to hire.
Optimal during that time of the month. So you'd rather have a workplace that prioritizes and values menstruating women than just saying, well, we're not going to necessarily create the sufficient facilities for you to be
We'll
able
just
to
get a bunch of
menstruate,
dudes here who don't menstruate at
Oh.
all.
Either
I mean-
organizations create a safe space, or I wouldn't say safe space, a period positive space that has access to these products, that has access to these facilities, so that we are able to work with our period and it's we're optimal. Or you give us a couple of days off, and whether we work remotely or whether we choose to still show up, that's on us. Because again,
Sure.
we're not explaining the intimate details, and we also need to understand that our periods are not this universal thing. We don't all experience the same things.
Sure.
So Lebang could have a great period, be God's favorite child, whereas I will have 2-3 days where I literally cannot even think straight, and that's purely my hormonal fluctuations. And so
Well,
it's just
I hope you're not in air traffic control if you're having brain fog like that, because that could be very, very dangerous for all those planes that are trying to land and take off. I mean,
Gareth, you're a business owner. You know that like the power of an operation is the people. We, the people that work here, are the ones that are going to essentially represent best cliffcentral.com out there. If the bulk of us are women and we're all experiencing period pains, and you guys decide not to make room for that. And by room for that, I don't mean we can just take time off because we feel like it. But if we know that we can operate more effectively in an environment that is aware of this thing that we didn't choose, by the way, but is a part of our lives, dude, I'm going to be so loyal to this place because they get it. That's it.
What she said.
Look, I think
Deputy Minister of Menstruation right there.
You've been promoted there, Lebang. That's quite important.
Oh, yes.
I do think that we're not afraid to talk about this stuff on this show, which is also why we invited you on, because I do think, Candice, that there's a lot of stuff that people just pretend isn't happening, right? Especially when it comes to issues around health and feminine hygiene, and we've got all these words that we've used to describe these things because we don't want to actually address it for what it is. You're the Minister of Menstruation. It's period pain. It's whatever it is these are the real words that people use. And it interests me that we've got to a point in society where we're able to talk about these things. I think the stigma is falling slowly but surely. It's starting to fall away. But there's some people, especially maybe our grandparents and our parents and those sort of people, who are much, much slower to turn to these words, to start to talk about these things. There are probably men over the age of 60 who will never use the word period in their lives. And that's fine.
Yep.
They've lived their life their way. They're okay. But I think if you're a parent, if you're a mom or you're a dad, you need to know how to address these things with your daughter. You need, if you're a girl, to be able to address these things
son?
with, right? Well, yes, of course. And with healthcare practitioners and all the rest of it. Where do you think the biggest gap is? Like, what can we actually do? We've got like a minute or two left. What can ordinary people do to help?
Ordinary people can, first and foremost, follow the Minister of Menstruation, follow Curate. We've got really great initiatives where we educate young people about periods. Also have a lot of interesting content around men experiencing period pain. That's another conversation for another day. But I also think it's about following the period organizations that supporting them, donating, and also learning from them. If you are in the capacity to volunteer. But also I think businesses who create these period products have a responsibility to make it more accessible, and government also has a responsibility to ensure that not only are we sort of ensuring the access to period products, but the education around it is not just filtered to go towards girls and girls only, because sex education is always split between the two. Let's ensure that there's a comprehensive way and an empowered way that we're talking about periods and talking about sex, so that people don't feel the ick, if that's the way I like the cool kids like to call it.
Sure.
That's just me. And I'd like to really thank you for having me on this platform and for challenging me as well. I think often I'll just come in, speak openly about it, but I think this was a great conversation. Again, also appreciate your viewers for sharing their own experiences. Some a little bit of internalized stigma that we have to work on. But again, my platform's open to all. So if you have any specific questions, you know where to find me. Minister of Menstruation, the only minister that works.
That's great. You're already doing a better job, as one comment said, than the Minister of Electricity. All right, Candice, thank you so much for being on the show, and we will get you on again soon. It's good to talk to you. Candice Chirwa is the Minister of Menstruation. You can find her on Twitter at that handle over there, and she is available on all social media too. Have an awesome day, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.